So now you know a little bit about knowing your client's representational system. So, as a review, what is a representational system? A representational system is the way that a client relates to the world. That's the way that they represent the world in their minds. Remember, it's either visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. That's the way that they sort things out in their head. There are all kinds of ways to look at the world. We can look at a room. Two people can go in the same room and they can have a completely different mental experience of that room. And it's all based on how they prefer to interpret the data. When you think about it, two people can have the same experience in general, just any experience, and they can walk away from it with two different stories. You can ask two people what happened in the same event, and they will honestly and truthfully, not lying at all, they will tell you two completely different stories about what happened based on what they think the other person was thinking or the motives were or what was really going on. Oh, he hit her because he's jealous. Or the same event told by someone else. Oh, well, she caused him to hit her because she had already done this previously, or she had bad intentions, or what have you. Well, when you get right down to it, what really happened is what happened. That's what happened. Those are the facts, as law would say. Those are the facts. That is what happened. But people are interesting, aren't they? They'll come up with a story about what happened. They'll put all these things into it, all these things that they're really not making up because they believe them to be true, but some of the things didn't really happen. They're extra bits of information that may or may not matter. The representational systems are kind of like that. We can have the same experience as someone else, but based on sometimes our experiences in the past or the way our brains are organized, we will present a story, an account of the same situation completely differently. Completely differently. So visual people will present it in terms of what they saw. Auditory people will present it in terms of what they heard. And kinesthetic people will present the same exact situation in terms of what they felt, what they touched, what they felt, what they perhaps think the other person was touching or feeling or what have you. So we have the same experiences experienced differently by different people. Now, how does this help with communication? You know a lot now about the different representational systems, and you know that people experience things differently. So what you want to do is start incorporating this into your world, into your life. How does this help with communication? It helps when you start paying attention. You start paying attention and you start talking the same language as the other person. And when you do this, when you pay attention and when you talk the same language as the other person, what you find out is that your communication goes a lot further. And you may find out, to your shock and amazement, that you've been wasting a lot of time attempting to talk to people in one language when actually they want to talk in a different language. They are not interested in hearing about what you saw in the movie that they're about to see. Let's say you just saw a movie and you're telling them about the movie. And you're talking about what you saw. But they're not visual, they're auditory. They want to know about the sound effects and what people said and so forth. Or maybe they tell someone else about the movie, trying to get them interested in it, and they're talking about what they saw, and this person's kinesthetic. They don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about how it felt to be there when the explosions went off in that scene. How did that feel? How did that make you feel? Was it riveting? Was it gripping? How did you feel? Was it a hot movie? What was the temperature like if the movie could actually have a temperature? People who are kinesthetic will assign temperatures to things, even when they, of course, don't have a temperature. So this helps with communication by making sure that you are, in your case, talking the client's language. You need to make sure that you are talking the same language as the client. When you are, things are going to flow smoothly. When you're not, as I've said, you may as well be talking another language. You may as well be talking Chinese to someone who speaks English. And you know how people who speak English, notoriously, when they talk to someone else who doesn't speak English very well, will just slow things down and start talking like this, as if this is going to help. I want to tell you, if you're not talking their language, this is not going to help. If you're primarily talking a visual language to an auditory person, you can speak as slowly and clearly and post as many memos and send as many emails as you want, and it's not going to help. Speak their language. It helps in communication. Let's talk about words that are commonly used with each representational system. Each system has its own words that you're going to find are unique to that system. And once you do find the words unique to that system, you're going to be able to streamline everything. You're going to be able to have a way to talk to them that really speaks their language. So I want you to do some research on this, because you can look it up online. You can find long lists of words that are visual, long lists of words that are auditory, and long lists of words that are kinesthetic. But essentially, the words you're looking for in the visual category have to do with sight. So see and saw and vision and clear and crisp, all of those have to do with sight. But think about that for a minute, if you would. Think about the words clear and crisp. Can't they also describe sound? So some of the words cross over. Some of the words have dual purpose, like clear and crisp. You can have a clear and crisp drum beat. You can have a clear and crisp sound of any kind. So realize that things can cross over. You can also have a clear and crisp feeling. When someone is dealing with feelings, something can be a clear feeling. I clearly felt their hand on my arm comforting me, and I knew everything would be okay. So, certain words can cross over. Certain words are very clearly in one system. For example, see and vision. Those words have to do with visual, the visual representational system. So the way that you use the words can have a lot to do with what they mean when they're unclear, when they're words that can have multi-purpose. So words that have to do with auditory would be hear and sound and listen. Those are obvious ones, but there are also many others. So I want you to research this. Rather than rattling off a list to you, I want you to research this because it's readily available online. Lists of words that have to do with the systems. Then we get into kinesthetic. Kinesthetic has to do with feel, touch, move, etc. So I want you to get accustomed to these words and start using them with the people you're working with. And how you discover someone's representational system, as we review this, you realize that you have to listen. You have to pay attention. And this can't be emphasized enough. This is really, really important because this gets right to the heart of what you're doing. You're listening to your client's needs. You're listening to what they're saying. You're listening to what they want from you. And you're hopefully hearing it. So the way you discover someone's representational system is a way that you help them in general, by listening to what's going on, by hearing them out, by seeing their point, if you will, by feeling what they're feeling. Okay, so you're listening to what they're saying. That's how you're going to discover it. But in addition to that, you're also additionally looking at emails and texts and Skype communication and instant messenger communication, whatever else you have from them. You're looking at all of the forms of communication that they're sharing with you, and you can also look at things they've written. Maybe they've written books, maybe they've written memos to other people. You can look at those and get a really good idea of what this person's all about. So it's not just the way they communicate with you, it's also the way they communicate in general. Make sure that you understand how they communicate. Once you understand how they communicate, you have tremendous ability to establish tremendous rapport with them and to get them to do what they need to do. You're not trying to manipulate them to do something that they shouldn't do or to do something that's going to serve your evil purposes or anything like that. All you're trying to do is get them to do things that help themselves. So any advantage you get in terms of controlling them in any way, in terms of speaking their language, any advantage you get in that department is only going to help them. It's only going to benefit them. That's the only reason you're gathering this information. So realize that the more information you can gather and the more quickly you can get the information, the sooner you'll be able to start working with them and getting them to where they want to be. Because where they want to be is in a position that's different than where they are now. And so the sooner you get the information that's going to help them move to the next level, the better. So I want you to remain vigilant and pay attention to everything they throw out. They're going to, when I say throw out, I mean put out there, such as text or emails or memos or communications with other people or listening in on a call that they're having with their mother. Not spying on them, but sometimes you'll be in the same room and they'll say, "Excuse me, my mom's calling, I'm going to take this now." Listen to how they talk. Listen to all of their communication, not just with you. So once you do that, you can put together a picture and you can help them.